Hey everybody, let me get to the comments here. We got the little red live button. We got a couple people in here. Miss Diane, Mike, uh, Troiano was here earlier. David Blaylock. So guys and gals, we've got Mr. Mike Troiano. And he's backstage. I met him through James McDaniel, who we did the show with, and Mike and James are old friends, and they do ghost hunting together. They have done that in Louisiana. Mike's been all over. He's former Air Force. He's worked with spy planes. We'll let him tell you some about that. Um, I talked to him. Um, I had planned on about 5 minutes a few days ago, but we hit it off. You know me, we talked for like 30 minutes. I was tempted to go live then, but I said no. We got a schedule, so I was giving his time to come on, and we're probably going to shoot for about an hour tonight. Um, he's got enough stuff we can do a part two, maybe a part three. I like him, so we're going to keep in touch after this. So I'm going to bring Mr. Mike on the stage. Mr. Mike, how you doing, sir?
Doing good.
Good to see you again. You we got a few people. And usually, what happens? Um, there are other shows going on. I just came over from Mark Green's and his wife's show, and they'll be ending sometime, and we'll get some viewers come over in the chat, and then we'll get a lot of views afterwards too. So, um, would you like to introduce yourself to the folks? Tell a little bit about your past and what you're doing now.
Okay, well, my name is Mike Troiano, originally from New York. Spent 12 years in the military. I am a retired elementary school teacher. I retired from Sacramento City Unified School District. I live in Folsom, California, a
Mm.
place Johnny Cash sang about.
Yeah.
Uh, I live in a brand new house. But it does have a bunch of spirits in it,
Do
which is
you think it may be from what the land it was built on, or something there before?
I well, I brought some of the spirits in,
Oh no.
but there are a couple of spirits that I'm not sure where they came from. They kind of pop up sometimes, and nothing's been harmful so
Yeah,
far. There's nothing bad. And
that's
matter of
good.
fact, I've even had my house investigated by a local group here in Sacramento called Sac Spirit, and they came over and they kind of kicked a lot of things off for me and
Well,
proved that I wasn't a little bit nuts.
you hey, we're all a little bit nuts here, and just we're this is relaxed. We're not professionals, and we just like to hear good stories and from good people. And um, I know you've had things happen in the past, and we all, the reason I'm doing ghost stuff mixed with UFO and the Bigfoot is because it seems like a big majority of the people that are interested in one have experiences in the other.
Oh,
We've actually had orbs and stuff while we're out. You know, I say Bigfoot hunting, just enjoying the outside at night and all that, and seeing these orbs that there's no explanation for. And then you get to digging a little further, and you think, well, maybe it's paranormal here at this piece of property along with this. And some people say they're connected. So we at this point it's speculation, but it's fun to speculate.
oh
But
yeah.
what how did you get started, or the interest in the paranormal to start with?
Well, I wasn't really planning on anything happening, but when I was about probably 14, 15 years old, we lived in an older house in New York. It was pretty small. There were two bedrooms. There was a bedroom, bathroom in the center, in the hallway, and then my room. And I was laying in bed. I was just kind of getting ready to go to sleep, and I heard the door rattle, and the door opened up. And this is something I will never forget. in my life. It scared the bejesus out of me. Something came in. The door physically opened. Something came in. It had a human shape, but it was completely black, and the lights were still on in my room. And it went
Wow.
my doorway across my room, and it looked like I mean, it could have jumped out the window, but it looked like it went straight ahead, and it would have to have gone through an old radiator and my window to leave the room. I had no idea what a shadow figure was, and it bugged me for years and years and years. I couldn't figure out what the hell it was until I found out what a shadow figure was. I'm like, okay, that would explain why. I mean, it was absolutely dark, and it was like hunched over, like it was running low to the ground. And I say if it would have stood up, it probably would have been about probably 5 foot tall.
Let
But
me ask you this. I'm bad about questions. I've had things happen to me, but when you say it was dark, and you said that it was the lights were on in your room,
yeah, the light
did
was on, but the shadow was absolutely, it was void of color. It was all completely black.
so you didn't have any reflection off of it, like it was absorbing the light, kind of, sort of.
No, it was just, I
Just
mean, I
black.
looked up. I was expecting either my mom or
Hmm.
my grandmother to come in the room, which was be kind of odd at that time. And like I said, it was black, was hunched up, and it was quicker than hell. It probably went straight through. Now I can discount if it's corner of the eye phenomenon, but when I can
Right.
see it full on, I'm just saying it was weirder than hell. It just scared the hell out of me.
Right. Because sometimes, as a hunter or whatever, out in the woods, and the light's just right, you get that blind spot you got. That it'll play tricks with you sometimes. That corner of the eye, you'll think something's there and it's not.
Yeah,
But we had an experience in Wyoming. It was Cheyenne, Wyoming, a couple years ago. We were staying at a overnight at a really old hotel downtown, and just long story short, I my wife and I were down this long hallway in the corner, and I thought somebody was coming in between us. So I made a turn to the right, just making conversation.
yeah,
So when it wasn't obvious that showed that I was protecting her, right? I thought it was somebody walking in between us, and I don't like people behind me in a strange area. And when I turned around and was talking to her, there was nobody, nobody behind me, nobody each way. The hallway was probably 50 yards each way, And I'm like, oh, she what is it?
yeah. It's just
Well, and I told her, um, so did you when you after you did you start the ghost hunting, as we'll call it, investigation after retirement?
well, yeah. Well, it was before retirement.
Okay.
I retired 4 years ago. Uh, I had maybe 5, 6 years ago. I mean, I've always kind of dabbled in it a little bit, and I never had the equipment. And then I got something called the Ghost Hunter M2 app.
Hmm.
Let me see if I grab that on my phone real quick. And it had a K2 meter on it, and that K2 meter. Of course, now I'm not going to find the app that I'm looking for. What it is just for the heck. I had a German helmet. Matter of fact, it's right here.
Don't bring no ghost in here. I might
Well,
leave.
no, let me push it off to you. Yeah, this is a World War II German
Uh-huh.
helmet that's a police symbol. This used to be belonged to a police officer, and you can see this is absolutely real. The guy
Right.
had a small head too, as you can tell. It's not going to fit. This is also uh, now I've studied German uniforms. Um, This is not a Wehrmacht helmet. If you've ever seen, was it the History Channel? I used to call it the Hitler Channel. And if you ever seen the soldiers lining up in front of the Wolf's Lair, Hitler's home, they wore these helmets. This is not a fighter helmet. This was a ceremonial helmet.
Okay.
And if you notice, it's made differently. And I mean, this is original. This is the lining is it's so old. The lining is falling out. As a matter of fact, when this helmet was investigated, uh, like I said, I had put the M2 app on it, and I go, son of a bitch, it's taking. Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
It was taking a reading. Oh, here it is. So this is what I used. It was a she's a little app, and or was I'm sorry. Okay, I guess I'm going to use the EMF detector, and the EMF detector went off when I got near the helmet. I'm going, this is odd. Okay, maybe I'm picking up radio waves. So I moved the helmet to a different area, got the same readings. I was getting a little bit worried because I got that helmet from a friend of mine, and he gave me that helmet and an officer's hat. And he said that they're haunted. Yeah, Bob, I believe you. So, I mean, what? Also, why I investigate? I think why I investigated because I was starting to catch figures in my house, shadows in my house, but I never got to see it. So I said, let me just check this helmet, and I put the EMF meter by it, and it would light up. I moved it to a different part. I moved it into my kitchen, put the EMF meter by it, lit up. So I called the people from Sac Spirit. They came by. As a matter of fact, I have a video of them capturing orbs coming out of the helmet. And the one gentleman that why they wanted to come to my house specifically was the gentleman in the team was German, and he spoke German. And when they used the spirit box, German was coming out of the spirit box, which was kind of odd. I heard it too.
Yeah.
My wife said, "All I hear is static." I said, "No, I can hear it." And he was taking a film, and just out of a short film, I caught 3 orbs, and there's a video on my website on YouTube. It's called 3 Orbs, and you'll see 3 orbs coming out of the helmet. And just as soon as he was using a tri-fuel meter, which measures for electricity, and he looked everywhere. He's going, in order for it to pick up electricity, this thing would have to have a battery or something in it. It didn't have anything.
Didn't have anything.
He took all the lining. He checked in all the little bags, because what people don't realize is there are pockets. I don't know if you'll see, but there's. I mean,
storage.
This is that I think probably held a little bit of foam in it, so if it wouldn't hurt the person.
Make it a little comfortable. Okay.
So there are little pockets in there, and he was looking to see if I was, trying to mess with him.
Right. Which when you're investigating, you have to rule out all the possibilities. I mean,
yeah. So he didn't know if I was testing him or what. And as soon as he was ready to pull the camera away, he goes, okay. He goes, okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a certified haunted helmet. As soon as he said that, you see an orb fly out of the helmet and go past.
And that's on your YouTube?
That's on my YouTube.
So y'all that are watching, you can see the scrolling across the bottom at MV Troiano. Is that right?
You go there, and I have a lot of other ones. I was a school teacher, so there'll be some with schools, and I have cats. It's gonna be some of my cats, and but that was some of the weirdest things. I was trying to document whatever
Right.
whatever I could.
So did you, and you started going to other locations? Mike
Yeah,
told me, guys, that he said his good friend, lives 125 feet from the Manson murder house, and I was like, "Oh, please tell me you got to investigate that." But they didn't do it, but they got to investigate a house just not too far away, right?
yeah. It's just I can't see who's here, but I know possibly some of the other people who've been to David Ullman's home.
Okay.
David Ullman is very certified in the paranormal world. He's been on a whole bunch of. He was on the season 9 opener of a certain ghost show I won't mention because the guy is really a discredit to the ghost community. Um, there was one I think. There was another show, and I really wish I would have wrote down the name before I
Are you
came.
good?
He's been about 4 or 5 shows, and it was one of those shows that did like um, it'll chronicle one ghost story or so like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so oh no, I'm losing track. I do that a lot. I'm getting
Are you?
old.
Hey, don't worry about it. I will too. You might have to help me out here in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. But matter of fact, I went over there, and this is the first time. I mean, I was a little bit scared because of the people in the season 9 opener of that show. They weren't even sure if they wanted to go back
Mm.
because there was a gentleman called Dr. Barry Taft, who was a parapsychologist, who would say he'd go there. He was there a number of times, and he gotten sick. I was afraid of going there and getting sick. But we got to investigate my friend David Owen's house, and the house next door was the house where when the maid went to who was working for Sharon Tate, uh, when she found the dead bodies, she ran to the house,
Wow.
and that was the house next door where my friend David built his about 18 years ago. And we got to investigate that house. That house was just super creepy.
So
And yeah,
are you?
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, are you the type of person like I am that you go in a structure or even on land somewhere you can feel the heavy energy and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Sometimes it's hard for me to breathe,
Mm.
or I feel like there's like something pounding on my chest. And I noticed that when I was on David's third level. Uh, Also on that season, like I said, that season 9 opener, um, Nick Groff, who was on that certain team, was sent down to that third level, and he was freaking out because he saw something in the David has a projection room down there, and he saw something there, and he was freaking out, and it was something that was preventing him from leaving. And that room, you feel it the most because it his house has 3 levels, and
Hmm.
this is the bottom level. And matter of fact, the last time I was there, I slept over that house, and I woke up at 7:08. I'll never forget that 7:08 in the morning, and I heard a knock on one corner. I heard a knock on the next corner, and then I heard a knock on the other corner, which was odd because I thought I was going to hear 4 corners knocks. This is 3, and there's always, they say in spirits, things
Right.
happen in 3. And I don't know if I was up just to hear those knocks, but I didn't see anything else that night. I know before we went to bed, David was helping me. He was getting me some pillows because I don't sleep in a bed. I usually sleep on the couch. And like I said, I was in the same room that where Nick Groff freaked out. And I mean, while we were setting up, we pulled the couch out, and both of us saw a cat, which is odd. Now David owns 3 or 4 cats. None of the cats were downstairs. His dogs don't go downstairs in that bottom on that bottom floor. His dogs and his cats, sorry, both dogs and cats, do not go to that third floor. You couldn't even drag them; they will run out of your arms.
And you
Now,
better. I found it. It's very good to listen to your animals. If you, I think they. I don't know if you agree with this. They sense things sometimes that maybe we don't pick up on right away, and you can watch them. And I know you told me a story about you saw an orb and your
yeah, yeah,
cat. Yeah, and you didn't know whether you were seeing it right or not, and your cat was actually following his head. His eyes were following it too. So that was confirmation right there that you were seeing something with the cat. So that this stuff scares me. I can be out in the woods and have a rock thrown at me by some primate or whatever, and I get spooked. But this
I said
stuff right
goodbye.
here, but I don't want to change gears a little bit. I thought something was really cool. You told me James had said on the previous show that you flew out to Louisiana with them, and Shane Pittman, which he was on the Hoser Files. He's got his
Yeah.
own show, 28 Days Haunted. I watched some of that.
Oh yeah,
I'm the face
yeah.
my fears
He's
type guy,
another great guy.
and he, you remember this? I didn't meet you in the chat, but I was in there,
Oh,
and
okay.
Shane used to come in on the watch parties and interact with us sometimes. He
Oh
seemed
yeah,
like
yeah.
a really super nice guy.
Yeah, no,
Now,
I don't know if James is here now or not. Like I said, I can't see
right.
anybody in the chat, but James, I think I freaked him out because I flew all the way out from California, and I did it because they changed the dates. And
Wow.
my wife said, "Yeah, it's just because I always wanted to go to Louisiana. I always told my wife I wanted to go. Everybody that I met from Louisiana was so nice."
Right.
I said, I just love the culture, and I always wanted to go there. My
Let
wife
me
said,
ask you this.
"Got a
Let me
chance, go."
let me ask you this. I've been to New Orleans. James actually helped kind of point me in some directions to eat good food. How did you go downtown New Orleans?
No, no, I didn't get a chance to go to New Orleans.
So
Uh,
how did the area feel to you? I mean, because there's a lot of strange history down in Louisiana.
it,
It had a different feel to it to me.
well, it's just I was just admiring the because I came in through uh, Lake Charles,
Hmm.
and I drove from Lake Charles to DeRidder,
Hmm.
and I was just admiring because I love the beautiful open fields, and it's just because I grew up in New York and everything was right
Just
next.
different terrain.
Yeah, so I just appreciate it. But when I got inside the jail, you can tell it had a different vibe to it.
And y'all, he's referring to the Gothic hanging jail
Oh
in
yeah.
DeRidder, Louisiana. Um, it got its name. I wrote few notes here so we could put everybody where it's at.
Okay.
Uh, they had their in 1928. It was reported that they had their first double execution in Beauregard, according to Lake Charles American Press. There were two guys, Joe Jenna and Moulton Brasseau. They plotted and killed a cab driver,
Cab
stole
driver.
his
Yeah.
car. Um,
And we
three
got in contact with those guys. They were
wow, and so their names and J.J. Breville was the unfortunate cab driver, and they stole $14,
yeah.
and he lost his life. So they beat him to death with a leaf spring off of a vehicle. So these are two evil dudes, and so y'all investigated and go. I tried to get the pictures on here. I'm an idiot, so I'll have to figure it out. The jail
Right.
is beautiful. It's the
Yeah.
design, the outside, the inside's creepy with the spiral staircase and they got the noose hanging. Uh, so how many people were there with you besides Shane Pittman and James?
I would say probably around 20 people, no more than 30. So it was a pretty quiet place.
Hmm.
People were we were able to we were able to investigate properly because I mean half of the people went with James, the other half of the people went with Shane. But I got to tell you, there was a little area right below the steps, and my millimeter went absolutely bonkers.
Is that the spiral staircase?
Yeah, it was underneath the spiral
Okay.
staircase. We kind of went below the first level a little bit, and probably about maybe 8 of us fit in there. And there's no internet in the building,
Hmm.
so you're not getting that interference. Thick walls.
Right. It looked like it was really built really well.
Yeah, it was very well built. And like I said, I use matter of fact, I used a thermal camera on that investigation because I was hoping to pick up at least some thermal evidence.
Hmm. That see, that's where I would go with you, but I would be scared, like you said earlier, bringing something home with me.
Yeah,
And I probably if I did see something on thermal, I've actually seen stuff. I've got stories, that um, sound crazy, and at the time they didn't seem that bad until you go back and start thinking about it, right?
yeah,
So, did so you had the what was it that went off? Was it the energy? Reading the energy.
yeah. It's just what we were picking up was MegaGal's readings, and the millimeter I have will pick up temperature, and it has matter of fact, mine has a K2 on it. Let me see if I turn the K2 on here real quick. And what happens is we get, oh, of course, now it's not gonna do it. Yeah, but I mean, if you get near the K2, it'll or you get near the antenna, it will send off an alarm. So the readings I was getting was the MegaGals readings are up on top, and those numbers were, I mean, normal MegaGals readings are less than point 0.1. Sometimes they might go a little bit over point 0.1, but I'm going to make sure I want to shut this off because I can never tell in my house when I'm going to need it.
That's scary.
Oh, there it is. Okay, there. I'll stop. Okay. Yeah, okay, here it is now. I must not. So if something gets near this antenna and breaks the field, that'll go off. Now we weren't. That wasn't going off, but the MegaGals readings were going nuts. And every time we asked a question about the murder of that cab driver, that's when the readings went up.
Mm. So that did so you got those readings. Did you have what are the things called where the words come through? What
Oh, that's a novelist.
okay. Did y'all have one of those that night? I'm sure somebody had one.
I didn't have an novelist app. Somebody there may have had it, but
Hmm.
I don't remember hearing anything from it, or even a spirit box.
Hmm.
So I don't remember picking up voices, or somebody in the group may have had it, but they may not have been with us. They could have
Right.
been with the other groups,
Other group.
kind of going around because the jail is not that big, and it probably there were two large cells that would have probably held about maybe 15, 20 prisoners uncomfortably.
I saw I saw one cell that had look. I'm sure it wasn't a picture of the whole thing, but it looked to me either 4 or 6 bunks, the steel, the metal that fold down, and you could tell by the way it was built that it was built a long time ago. I've seen some of
Yeah.
those sales, some of the old jails and some of these historic towns. They'll save the little jail or whatever. And I worked at a jail right out of high school for a couple years, and we were in the old ancient one, and then they built a new one. And you're right. Sometimes small towns they're not that big. I mean, if you're this is bad to say, but if you're hanging folks, you can make room pretty fast. you
Yeah.
know. And I hear it was pretty rough down there to hear James tell it
Yeah. Oh
in that
yeah.
area.
Yeah. I mean, it was a small town, so it didn't need that big of a jail. But I guess when they talk about things like stone tape theory, things stay there for a while.
So,
It was odd because with my thermal camera, I was taking a film. One lady that was standing next to Shane Pittman, and her hand did not even show any heat.
what?
Yeah, I told her about it and I showed her the film. She got a little bit freaked out, and so did Shane. He said,
Yeah,
"That's kind of weird. You should be seeing heat
something.
coming off of an arm, coming off her hand."
Yeah, that's strange. That I had something else wrote down here. Maybe that was maybe that was it because I found that really interesting. And working in the jail before, but how long how long does if do you stay up all night when you go to investigate or
Oh
I mean
yeah, yeah. I've, uh, I've had a bad case of insomnia since I was in the military, and I used to work night shift to kind of compensate for it
mhm.
because I could stay up all night, and I still don't go to bed till 4 or 5 in the morning every night because I just
So so
that's who I
is
am.
is there is there a more active time of night in is there or is it just every place is different?
Well, they always say that 3 a.m. is the witching hour, but I found things happen 24 hours a day in the places. I was like, well, just to say one thing. Um, I have like if you ever go into a coffee place, they'll have like real high cafe tables.
Hmm.
So my wife and I use that because we like the feel of those things. We use that, and that's what we have been using for the last 30 years for our dining room or for our kitchen table. Excuse me. So I have 3 cats, and normally if I see a tail, I look down to see which cat is patrolling. And I mean, our 2 cats are good. I also have my son's cat with us. Is who my son trained his cat to be a mooch and bother everybody while they're eating. And just so I was eating one day and I saw a tail, and I said, okay, let me see if that's Rocky. That's my son's cat. I looked down. It didn't catch until a couple seconds later. Uh, all of my cats are dark colored and long haired. What I saw below my table was a cat that was white. You ever see those cats that have orange and
Hmm.
brown spots on a,
Hmm.
like almost all white
like
body?
like a calico?
Calico, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I realized when I came back up that I only saw the front half.
Mm.
I didn't see the head. And I'm going, we don't have a cat like that. My wife looked at me. She goes, because my wife no longer uses the expression, you look like you've seen a ghost. She knows better than to say that in this house because she's seen them and I've seen them.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of weird because we spoil and pamper our cats. Uh, so we had one cat, Checkers, a black and white cat. his hair. This is the one I was telling you about. His hair felt like a Brillo pad, and he used to love to come and brush against your leg when you came out of the shower. You know,
Mhm.
we okay, we didn't have to dry off our ankles because checkers would do that for us. So one night or one afternoon, I came out of the shower and I said, a cat just rubbed up against my legs. And I said, none of our cats feel like that except for checkers. I looked down and there was nothing there.
Mm.
At dinner, I brought that up to my wife, and my wife said a couple of weeks ago, I felt checkers too.
So
We
is
talked
Checker
about
still with you? Is Checkers alive at this time?
he was dead years before that.
That
Yeah, he was.
oh,
Yeah, he was dead years.
he
He was
was
dead
he was
years
still
before
doing his
that.
job.
Yeah,
I gotta. You reminded me. Years ago, I was driving, but I was probably 16. One of my jobs at our parent store, I would take trash off once a week, and we had a dumpster, but we had overflow, and I would load my dad's truck up, so I'd open up the back door, and we had people coming from all over the United States. Stop is an interstate store. We had a pool table back there. It was a big room, and the public didn't come back there. At the one end of the old store, there was a room that was the old kitchen. And well, there was a one door in that was entrance and exit. There was no way in or out other than that. And I had the door cracked open on the other side of the pool table, and I caught a little movement out of my eye, and I looked over, and there's this white dog, curly white dog, probably I don't know 2 foot high, uh, tongue hanging out, looked happy, tail wagging, went right into that room, and I'm like, I love animals, you know. I'm like, I didn't know who he would get out of there, and I'll go over there to get him. I keep my eyes on the door because you don't never know if an animal's going to turn on you or whatever, not knowing it. And so I get out of there, and I walked in that room, and it's not a big room, and there's no dog. And I don't know what that was. And then my immediate thought was, um, I hope everybody's okay because it was like almost like it might be a sign. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I didn't tell anybody about that. I probably hadn't told too many people at all. But so do you? That's interesting that you say. I've heard a few people say that their animals they can like things they used to do in the home, whether
yeah,
it's push around something or maybe they be on the couch. And I think did James tell a story about Puppet Up's mama?
yeah.
He thought that her ghost was
That's
still with him, pushing on him. Yeah, that's interesting. We have a lot of limestone and a lot of rocks, and I heard you say something about the stones. Do you think that that does help hold energy the in the rocks or in the quartz or whatever?
yeah. The first time I heard about stone tape theory, it kind of made sense. Uh, when I was in the military, I was stationed for 2.5 years at RAF Mildenhall, and I visited tons of castles and just structures that would be out in the local forest. Excuse me. And I'm going, they, I said, imagine, they always had the expression, imagine if these walls could talk. And to me, there is still something behind that because, I mean, places with a lot of ancient history and even with recent history can somehow hold, maybe could hold things. Limestone is supposedly the most reactive to that stone tape theory. I've never done a lot of research into it, but I've heard that there's more occurrences around limestone itself.
Well, my buddy
You might
Don.
have caves.
Well, my buddy Don, he's former game warden, but he's done a lot of things from learning how to hypnotize folks, studying different things, and he's into all this stuff, and he had told me that there's a limestone deposit in Middle Tennessee, and he told me how big it was. It was unreal and how thick it was, And of course, all of us have to worry about kidney stones because we have the well water and everything. That's something to look forward to. But
Oh yeah.
and I had Spencer from Woodwalkers. I don't You haven't met them yet, but he asked us a question because we were talking about all this weird stuff that happens in the area. He said, "Are y'all close to fault lines or whatever?" And so hearing you say something about the limestone, it's starting. So I got into this to learn, and it's starting to make sense now because we have a lot of Native American history. I've got Cherokee blood on both sides of my family. Um, the battles, the Civil War battles, all over the place down in here, and the death, and a 2 day battle, and they could lose 2,000 to 20,000 people in the battle, and there's a place called Shiloh
Oh yeah.
over here, and they I'm not going to say a number because I don't want to get it wrong, but it's they lost like a football stadium full of people in 2 or 3 days. And there's a
Oh
place called the Bloody Pond where soldiers from both sides, there were dead horses, they were wounded, the men were wounded, and they were drinking out of this pond because they were wounded and they were dying. They were just moving each other out of the way. And
yeah.
so when you go to a place like that, and you can feel that heaviness, and I don't want to. I'm a firm believer in don't speak something into existence. So I'm gonna say, like with your house, you have to be brave. But then my mom's like you. So she bought a house down here in Cornersville years ago, fixed it up. It was built in 1921, I believe. So they were tearing the walls out, found an old whiskey bottle, kind of verified, pre-prohibition bottle, and I still got it. Um, One day she's been there about 2 or 3 months, and she said, Roger, she called me. She said, come visit me anytime you want to, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you I know how you are about these things. I've got an old man living here. I'm like, wait a minute, man, you shacking up with somebody, mom? She said, no, I got an old man ghost, and he gives me mean looks, but he hadn't done anything mean. And I'm like, are you not wanting me to come over? Is that what you're doing? So, but let me tell you this though, Mike. My mom and my dad, and two other people got struck by lightning
Oh
in the
wow.
90s. Um, my dad and the other guy, it knocked them in the air, so they didn't have many injuries from the lightning. But my mom and this fella were stuck to the ground, so they had different things happen physically. Now, I lived in their house for years, and there was nothing ever felt funny or anything like that. Well, after that lightning strike, she started seeing what you said, the shadow figures, and she was in her sewing room one day
Yeah.
and sewing, and she had two machines, and you have to mash really hard on that pedal to trigger that sewing machine. And she was using one, and the other one on the other side of the room started up,
We're going.
and it got so bad that she made my dad sell the house in about 20 acres up on top of the hill and moved and built another one. But and this was after a lightning strike.
Oh
So
weird.
yeah,
Oh, it's funny because you kind of mentioned that. My wife had three heart attacks.
mm,
And one of the heart attacks, I was in the room when she looked at me. She says, "I think I'm going to die." And I looked at the monitor and it went flatline. I went and got the nurses and they revived her. I asked her, "Okay, what did you see?" I see. She goes, "No." I said, "You died and you wasted experience." She
well,
hates me when I tell her that.
it, so we have all these stories. My dad passed away last year in July, and he was really sick with cancer, and we talked a lot. And he said, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you something, and you don't tell nobody until I'm gone, because I don't want them to think I'm crazy." He said, "While I was in surgery," he said, "I was looking. They had to take his stomach out and put a bag in, and so he said, while I was in surgery, I'm awake and I'm looking down at the doctors working on me, and it sounds
Oh,
familiar.
weird.
This we hear this a lot, in cases like that." He said, "But the thing was, he was looking down and he's wondering if he's going to be okay. And to his right, he noticed a white light, and he looked up towards it, and it was really, really super bright. And he said, and a man walked out, held out his hand, and said, "You ready to go home?" And he said, "Not yet. I have things I need to take care of." He said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yes, I want to go, but there's things I need to do first." He said, "Okay, and so he turned around, walked back. Next thing you know, he's waking up from surgery. And the day he passed away, we all were there. And of course, everybody's breaking down or whatever. And I said, "Y'all, I'm gonna tell you something. He could have left a long time ago, and he waited. So it's I'm glad he told me that, because it's kind of comforting, to hear that. And my dad was not a person that he wouldn't say stuff like that, because he told me to wait till he was gone to tell it, because he didn't want anybody to, think he grew up tough. Let's put it that way. And if you were vulnerable in any way back in the 50s and 60s, the guys he hung around with, they would pick on you, and he didn't want that. So and that's why I do this. That's why I like hearing stories from experienced people like you. Um, because it reminds me of things that have happened, things we've forgotten about, and that's something you put me on a path now to check into the rocks, the
Yeah.
limestone, and all, so I can continue.
Theory.
Yeah, so that's all. It's always good to talk and share stories. But you, what? Let me ask, what is the scariest incident that's ever happened to you? That you can
Honestly,
think of?
after 12 years in the military and 24 years in teaching, I really, I really don't get scared. Uh, I tried to figure things out analytically. Oh, okay. I could tell. I was scared last June. I sent you that log I have. I I have a granddaughter which I absolutely love. I'm in love with this girl, and I was putting the car seat in back of my Rav4, so I couldn't reach it, and I had to lean across the back seat of the Rav4 and get the tie down so I could attach it permanently. That morning, I had a dream, and it made me jump out of bed that I was being trapped and crushed. As I was putting that strap on the child seat base, the 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 bigger part of the bench came down and trapped me. It crushed me just
Hmm.
like the dream I had that morning. I was freaking out because I'm yelling, I'm screaming. My wife said she didn't hear me,
Oh.
which was rather odd because I have a teacher voice, and believe me, teacher voice is loud.
Yeah, one of my friends, he's a teacher. He says sometimes you have to shake the trees around them.
Yeah, it's just weird. I could not get the seat up. A couple of days later, I finally I worked to where I wiggled out enough to I went between the seat and the back seat and the front seat. I was able to get out. A couple of days later, I went and I pulled the seat down and going, this thing doesn't lock in the down position.
Mm.
But it was so bad, I could not push up with my arm. I could not push it up with my body. That's probably the only time I was scared. I've been in pretty dangerous situations. I've been in motorcycle crash, never scared. I always try to figure out what I can do to either get out or what's the explanation behind it.
Well, I think I'm built like you a little bit, or wired like you, because when things are happening and other people are panicking, now I might panic here in 5 minutes, but during my life, when things are going bad, things slow down for me,
Yeah.
and I try to, because if you panic, you're in trouble. And I've had so many bad things happen to me, or I've been involved. Like, I'll tell this story sometime, y'all. I'm not gonna tell it tonight. I had a gas blow up on me, and I was on fire, and so everything slowed down. I had a thought process going. I'll go ahead and tell it since we're talking. I'll tell a quick version of it. I was going to prime the carburetor on a '68 Plymouth. It was my car, and uh, one of my buddies turned the engine over when he wasn't supposed to. It backfired into the jug. Me trying to save everybody's life, kicked the jug, and when I did it, that's not, you don't do that. It just, you know what it did. It just,
Yeah.
gas went everywhere. Fire. I'm on fire. Uh, I I this, and I think David Blalock and them, they heard me tell this before. I'll make it quick, but things slowed down for me, and I thought, I accepted it. This is it. This is how it ends. And a cold fingertip, it felt like, touched me on this cheek. And without thinking about it, my body, I didn't have any control over this. I ran between cars, trees, past my sister on fire, and she never saw me. I ended up in the front yard with my eyes shut, and I said, God, if I can see, because I didn't know if my eyes were gone. It was that bad. If I can see, I appreciate it, and we'll deal with the rest of it. And I opened my eyes, and I started directing people to get water and cold and towels, and who was going to drive me to the hospital. I was like 16, but so I understand what you're saying. When you've when you've been in some bad situations, it does train you a little bit. And like I said, me and you both could panic tomorrow on something simple, but so far, knock on wood, I know what you're saying. Um,
I
I had
think
a
the
friend.
military trained me
I
well
got
enough for that.
I've got a friend that is wired like that. He made a very good Marine. He moved up. He didn't panic. He was involved in that fire. He was holding that gas, that a gallon of gas, and it was shooting out the top. The flames were, and he eased it. He set it down. It was in his hands. He set it down real easy because he'd seen that before, actually.
Yeah.
Well, when I went to kick it, he screamed, "No, don't do that!" And he took off running. I thought I killed him, but anyway. So something, that it's very interesting. You worked on the. You tell it the spy plane. What it was it called?
The SR-71 and the U-2 at
Hmm.
Beale Air Force Base.
And you told me something interesting, and I hope I didn't say something I wasn't supposed to when I was telling people to come watch. Um, you tell they go up. How high are they in the out? How high up are they when
They
they're up?
what we can say is 80,000 feet. But they're basically they're flying in the dark.
So those
Both
guys,
the SR more it flies in the dark. The U-2 can't climb as high.
and you told me at one point, you asked about, do they look for UFOs, and what did the pilot tell you?
Yeah, he says we're constantly told to look for them all the time. Because I
Wow.
mean, I always wanted to know that, and there's sometimes when you just, I mean, there are some pilots who, oh no, you're in the list, man. I'm not even going to bother with you. But there are some pilots that are friendly because they
Yeah.
know that we fix their airplanes. And
Yeah.
I asked him, and he said, "Yeah, he says we are constantly told to look for them." He says, I've never seen one where we're told to look for them.
Yeah. And that's what how did you feel about that when he told you that?
I felt good. I did. It's I felt validated because I knew that they existed,
Mm.
and it's just I wanted to know if we were actually, because there are no other military planes that flew that high, and
When
we
you like to see some of the footage they have, I bet there's no telling what they have on. Uh, yeah, I mean, I've seen two myself, unmistakable ones, and I wondered. Um, I've wondered all my life. I don't spend a lot of time on it, but it does change you a little bit when you see one, and
Yeah.
when it leaves and goes into space. Here comes your ghost cat back there in the background.
Oh yeah.
Is
He's okay. Oh no, no,
that a
that's
mirror?
okay. Okay, yeah, yeah. He's on. Yeah, he's on the he's up on the fish tank.
That's not Brillo pad, right?
Yeah,
No.
it's uh, they really never told us what was going on. And then one day at a briefing, this is when you remember a guy, Idi Amin. Does that name
Hmm.
sound familiar to you? Well, uh, we they actually showed us a film of them setting up a parade in Havana, Cuba, for him. We were able to see people, and they're flying so high that they can't be seen.
Hmm.
Uh, and we saw faces. We could just about read headlines from the spy camera that was on that aircraft. Yeah, Edie, I mean, it's from the 70s. Yeah,
I,
I
yeah.
was there from. That was actually yeah, because that was the late 70s. Because otherwise, I wouldn't have seen it in the early 70s when I was in there.
He was a vicious person, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah, he was.
Yeah.
But I mean, we got to see what we were working on and what it could do. That kind of made people feel better. Okay, then all the busted knuckles and the yeah, he did murder a lot of people, man. And, he it was just nice to see that the airplane that we worked on had a purpose.
Right.
But I mean, it's just it's a very strange craft. I mean, it's uh, when I first walked up to the SR-71, I looked at it and I said, "That's how it flies that fast." It basically is skipped on the air, and I'm thinking that I mean, Von Braun was a Nazi. He was head of the space program. I don't call it the American space program. I call it the
Right.
Nazi space program because
I, I
basically
live
it's this idea.
I live less than an hour. I live less than an hour from Huntsville, Alabama. I've been down to Space Center
Oh,
down there. Yeah, and got into G-force machines and stuff like that. My face almost came off. So
yeah,
it felt like it. So they have the Von Braun Civic Center in Huntsville,
yeah,
named after him.
yeah. And I mean, it's just it looks like. I mean, I always saw those stories about the Nazi bell being taken from alien technology. But to me, I'm kind of thinking some of the parts that that the SR had specifically because it flew so high. I don't know how we could have. I don't know how we could have made it. There were parts of that airplane that were exposed to space that were aluminum foil thin sheets of gold,
Wow.
and I don't know how it was all done. It was all done with old um, analog equipment. There was virtually nothing digital
Let me ask you. Let
because
me
digital
ask
breaks.
you a question. So working on the military aircraft and everything, and you seeing that, what is your opinion of reverse engineering from maybe Roswell or other places?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they had to have. I mean, I don't have any specific proof, so this is all conjecture on my end.
Right.
But
And
I'm thinking, I mean, engineers are smart, but the tolerances, uh, the tolerances on the SR-71 were amazing. If you ever see it on a TV show, when you see it, it's on the ground and you'll see the fuel leaking. And we used to go into there in rain suits and with little graduated cylinders, and we had to have to count the drops or see how much CCs within a minute to see if everything was okay. When it goes up in space, it expands 13 inches. So I
So
mean, how did we figure all this stuff out?
right.
I mean, even Einstein had the thing where was it time moves more slowly in a vacuum, and they weren't able to prove that until they went out into space.
Well, you look at you look at people that invented things. This is simple, okay? People that invented things and they had to find out the hard way. Somebody died, within an experiment, but the government knows that if we go up so many thousand feet, we're going to have to. Um, this thing is going to swell up, and and the thing is, what if it goes a little further? You're in trouble too. It's got to be exact, right? So it's like
Yeah,
one thing I was watching was talking about engineers and messing up the early airplanes. There was one airplane that they put the door where now the doors the lips are on the inside of the plane, the edges, so when the pressure builds up, it'll hold the door on the plane.
yeah.
Some early planes weren't built like that, and they just fly off and it sucked people out of the airplane. So
Doors still fly off.
yeah, and it's amazing to me. I'm amazed at some of this uh, minor stuff we have, how it works, and so we get into that kind of technology. I'll tell you what, when I worked at the jail in the early '90s, um, there was a lady. She was from Texas originally. She was an older lady, very nice person. She told me her dad was in the Air Force um, years ago, and he was dying. He called the family in, and he said, "I'm gonna tell y'all something, and y'all listen to me." He said, "I'm dying. I'm not gonna be here much longer. They can't do anything to me now. I
Yeah,
have been
that's
told all my
true.
life to keep this a secret, and it's been eating me up." He said, "Y'all, I saw the alien bodies in the hangar. I saw the aircraft. They are here. They have been here, and I know you. I'm not on anything, and I want to tell y'all. You may not find out for sure in your lifetime, but I saw them." So, and she didn't go on a TV show. She's telling me at work over coffee in the break room. And she didn't go on the internet, and there wasn't internet then.
Yeah.
She didn't broadcast that, but I felt so honored to be told that because at the time I was just 2 to 3 years from seeing my UFO that left and went into the upper atmosphere that fast.
Oh,
So
weird.
yeah,
Okay.
so I had questions. I still have questions, but a lot of them have actually been answered. Um, you dealt with the airplanes and the speed, and you know this better than I do. When they break the sound barrier, what happens?
Well,
You got you got the
you
sonic
get,
boom, right?
yeah.
Okay, so that's why I was confused because this thing was lower in the atmosphere, and it was definitely had a definite shape. It was glowing. When you heat iron up to almost a melting point, and it turns that hot orange. That's what color it was. And when it left, it just straight up
So, oh, weird.
didn't make a
Yeah,
sound.
you probably saw something.
Did
You have to
not make.
excuse me. I was laughing before when you said about talking about things expanding. Uh, my wife used to call me the Easter Bunny because every Easter I mysteriously would leave. The Air Force would ship me out somewhere.
No way.
they, that was just happened that way. It was just like my son was born in March.
They didn't know where you were at.
I was never home during Easter. Uh, a U-2 pilot. People in the Air Force are just they're pranksters. So the pilot. I'm sorry, I laughed real hard because
Hey, you're good.
this cost millions of dollars. Pilot on Easter Sunday took a marshmallow bunny with him in the U-2.
Oh no, that
You
thing
know what
probably got
happens
big as.
when you put marshmallow in the microwave?
Yes, absolutely, I do. Yeah, yeah.
He got up so high that I used to have a website, And I had this story on there, and every time I think of it, I almost start tearing. The bunny got so big it took over the cockpit. We had to call the White House and ask if we can end the mission because the bunny had taken over the cockpit.
Yeah.
I didn't get in trouble, but the pilot and the commander got in trouble.
We had a multi-million-dollar airplane taken down by a peep.
by a giant marshmallow peep. Nobody expected to do that.
Oh man!
I had a website, and I told that story. I don't know how many people believe me. I don't know if anybody believes me now, but I was there when it happened, and it was just it would make me. I would double over in laughter.
So here's what I want to do. I want to have a challenge and get 3 people to eat a peep and try to swallow it whole and then go up in that airplane.
No. You want to do that?
No, I wouldn't do that. No,
that's like Nancy Borak.
That kind of thinking used to get me in trouble.
That will definitely. But I don't know if you can get that high right now, unless you're a millionaire, you can afford one of those Spirit flights.
Oh, I know. Then we've seen people go up. We've seen people with Red Bull suits go up and jump out of those things too. I mean, I don't know how they land in the spot they want to. But y'all, we're at a minute.
Jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
No,
never,
guys. We're at minute 6. I told Mike we would go for an hour and make this a part 1.
Okay.
It's early out there where he's at. It's 9. Y'all hang tight. We'll contact Misty and we might do something here, maybe with somebody. But Mike, I appreciate it. I love the story. I know you got a lot more stories, and I appreciate you coming on. It's been a joy talking to you. I like your sense of humor, and of course, if you hang around James and those guys, you know it's you definitely have to have a sense of humor. They're so awesome.
We get in a lot of trouble.
But yeah, so just we'll plan something. We'll plan something in the future, and keep in touch. I might not. You got me on Facebook, and so we can keep in touch that way.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you don't hear anything from me, don't think I forgot about you, because I'm trying to. I wish I could have done a little more research for you. I've got a full-time job too, so it's kind of hard.
I'm retired.
I know you. I'll give you the password, and you can do a show for me. No, but yeah. Have you ever thought about doing something like this on your own?
I am the most. I remember when I came back. I replaced the guy overseas, and he came back and he told my wife, "Mike is the most boring person I've ever met." And Darren was absolutely correct.
All right, Mike. We'll end it here, and with a promise to come back. How about that?
That sounds good. I
will check out.
Many of my friends showed up in the chat room. I couldn't see anybody, but if you said hi, I'm sorry I couldn't see you.
And that's one thing that's bad about this. When I've been on other people's shows, I couldn't see the chat, and I like being in chat too. You know, trying to. Doing Anna. I don't want to mispronounce your last name. Doing shows is hard, especially finding guests. It is, but that's one thing why I like not having a set night, so I can go. You know, I had a surprise show one night on a Thursday. A guy that I had asked on a long time ago if I started a show, and he's like, "Hey, you ready to go on tomorrow night?" I'm like, "Oh my god!" And I had to set. I knew it setting this up, so yeah, it was awesome.
Okay, right. Let me show you how dumb I am. I had it on private chat all that time.
Oh, you're good.
God, that's okay. None of my friends showed up. They don't love me anymore.
You're good. It's we'll get a lot of views afterwards too, because what's going on? A lot of people that watched my show, there was another show that's on Fridays. It starts at 7, and they went long, and and so it kind of cuts into it. I try not to do a show on top of their time, but yeah, there'll be people come in, and they'll watch it from, you know how it works.
Oh
They'll
yeah.
be watching this for a while. All right, keep uh keep safe over in Cali.
Okay.
I
And
really
thank you for
appreciate you
having me
coming
on the
on.
show.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hold on. All right, let's see. All
And
right.
thank you all for watching. Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. I don't know where it is.
Yeah,
Somewhere in the reach of my finger. But just go ahead and subscribe to
there
Roger.
you go. Thank you. Definitely. I appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna try to remove you here and let's see if it works. I'm new at this. Have a good night.
Bye, all.
Let's see my yeah. I think you can still hear me. They can't see you. I'm still live. Okay. Guys, I'm gonna leave out of here, and I may start something up for just a second. So just keep an eye out for alert, and let me talk to somebody first. All right. Thank y'all for coming. Let's see if I can hit end stream yet. Nope, not